Welcome to Outside is Magic, a podcast about the intersection of creativity and the outdoors. I'm your host, Christopher San Agustin. Today, I'm joined by Naohmi Monroe and Ginger Boyd, the duo behind Amiga Studio, a full-service and woman-owned photography and production studio based in Los Angeles, California. This conversation dives deep into what it means to collaborate with purpose, how to build a business rooted in values, and why starting small is often the most powerful way forward. We talk about representation, taking creative risks, growing as individuals and as a team, and the deep importance of trust in your partner, in the work, and in the process. Let's get into it.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for jumping in on the podcast. And I was hoping we could start out with each of you kind of maybe just giving a brief background of where you're from and like how creativity kind of showed up in your life. So whoever would like to jump in first,
I
not
can
to
go
put you on the
first.
spot.
Yeah. So, hi. Thank you so much for having us. My name is Naomi. I'm a photographer and co-founder of Amiga Studio. And creativity kind of found me at a really early age. I think my first memory of photography is Hawaii, 1999, hands me travel camera. And just like the reassurance, like, oh, that was a good photo. Not that she knew because it was film, but I was like, oh, wait, that was kind of fun. And then I kind of just stuck with that route throughout my education. So I did like photo certificates, got the degree. And then one time I was out of school, I'm like, I guess this is the path. I know nothing else and I really am not interested in anything else. So I went for it. I went full freelance right out the gate. And that's kind of how I met Ginger. We got connected through a photo job that she hired me on. And yeah, I kind of have just left creativity, or I let creativity like guide me and I'm like fully trusting in it. But yeah, it was definitely an early age where the spark came and I'm like, it's almost addicting where it's like, I don't want to leave that satisfaction on the table. I kind of want to follow it and see where it lets me go.
Was there a moment like you realized that you could actually really make it like as a photographer? Like
I
that kind of aha moment?
felt like I almost had to prove it because when I went to my university, UC Santa Cruz, it was a fine arts degree that I got with like a photo track, and being a commercial photographer wasn't the vibe there. It was not like what anyone else in my chapter in my class really wanted to do. And I was like, but this is how you make it. This is how you make it your life, how you're living. Yeah, I'm going to go try to get my photos on display at the store that you shop at. So I almost felt like it was a proof. I'm like, you can be an artist and a commercial photographer at the same time. It doesn't mean you can only do one. So
Yeah,
I think it was really to prove it to myself and to everyone else.
that's awesome. And how about you, Ginger?
Yeah, I'm Ginger, the other half of Amiga Studio and a director and creative director. I love Naomi's story so much because it's the opposite of mine. I think it's rare too that someone is like on the photo track from the get-go and then never changes.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I don't know how I found myself here. I mean, I guess I always felt a little creative itch. I really thought I would be a writer. That was kind of my first like foray into it. Like I went to college for English. And then, yeah, I guess I just found my way more organically. I started working for a cycling apparel brand right out of college, actually in social media. And then, you know, we were doing all of our creative and production in-house and I just got to assist on all these shoots. And then I was leading the shoots and I was like, I never knew creative direction was a thing. You know, I think coming from a small town, like it's just not something you hear about. So I was like, oh, this is so fun, you know, and it's amazing that it's a job. And so I kind of just leaned into it that way and like, you know, building these worlds and telling these stories. And it's just an amazing opportunity. Like I'm grateful all the time that this is my job. And then, yeah, we decided to start Amiga pretty much so we could do this all the time, you know, and really put our stamp on the stories that we get to tell. And then the move into directing was pretty organic as well. I was just like obsessed with motion and I was like, okay, I want to do that more. And then I just, started doing that.
That's awesome. What did the conversation look like when you two figured out that you wanted to work together and form a business?
It was very casual. Yeah, go for it, Ginger.
I was on a hike. It was kind of funny because, well, I think Naomi started it because I was still at my full-time job. And then I think she just said one thing, and I was like, me too, let's go, I'll quit right now.
Yeah.
Which of course,
Sometimes
like,
that's all you need sometimes.
yeah, it was like my initial, reaction. But then I was like, okay, wait, like, am I really going to quit my job? And because Naomi had been freelance, like she said, her whole career, it was like, she was like, of course you can do this. And so all those questions of like, oh, am I really going to give up a paycheck? Like, what is that going to look like? Like, how much do you have to make, every month to make this a reality? Naomi was super, super encouraging. And she was like, yeah, you can do this. Here's how it works. Like XYZ. She bought me this book, Freelance Business and Stuff.
Nice. I need that book too.
Like before. Little things like that.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I think the cool thing about that experience too was I was on the other side being a solopreneur for so long. And the moment she even slightly mentioned leaving to pursue freelance, I was like, I've been waiting for this day. Like, please, I need a partner. Let's do it. And she's so logistical. She's so like organized and like well thought out that I'm like, I know she will complement my weaknesses. Yeah, I think 2 days after we're like, okay, let's do it casually on this hike, she sends me a business plan.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, signing the contract now. Like, I have never done this for myself. And since we have worked together for so many years, there was so much trust that the other could, maintain a good work ethic, talk to clients, build a brief, build a deck, go hands on with any part of production that was needed.
In that contract, were there any like rules or definitions around like how you two are going to work together?
Yeah, I remember it being like important that we had like this shared Google Doc where there were questions on it, and we kind of let ourselves like think out loud of like, okay, how is this person going to handle this part of the business? How are we going to split certain tasks? Yeah, and it just became an open conversation.
Yeah, that's very, very cool. And when you were starting out to brand your agency, being like a woman-owned studio, what was that approach, kind of building out your values and how you want to show up and tell stories?
Well, the values came really naturally, I think. I feel like we just immediately knew what they were because it was how we had worked together in the past. Things like putting underrepresented voices at the forefront, making sure those voices are on both sides of the camera. Like that was something we had seen in our careers not happening, and we were always knew that like didn't feel right. So things like that, yeah, I think we did probably add them to the Google Doc, but also it was like we were already agreed on it in a way. But yeah, branding our studio also honestly has been a challenge. I feel like we kind of just dove in and started, and like when we look back to our original branding, we're like
Yeah, I saw a deck the other day where it's like clip art, star, like sun star. We had a vision.
Hell yeah. Yeah. I mean, you got to get started. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
most important part. Just like make it happen for sure.
Totally. And I think starting things like is so hard. So I think that is the right way to go about it, is like just doing what you know first and like just get going no matter what it looks like. I think especially now, like you can look around and be like, oh, people are starting brands and they already have like a, $1 million branding package that they bought and all this stuff before it even launches. And you're like, I'm so behind. Like, but really you're allowed to change also.
Yeah,
You're allowed
totally.
and then change it after. I think just like permission to do that is like huge. You just have to give that to yourself.
Yeah. There's this quote that I found recently: make it exist first and you can make it better later. And I really like that. It's like you don't need permission to start something. Just like go for it. And like you can make it better later.
Exactly.
Yeah. Has there been a time, or even now, I imagine, are you still having to fight to bring representation into your work?
I think yes, a little bit, because our definition of inclusivity or representation versus a client's version, there's a gap there. And whether I think there's so many factors that, we can see our friend who's beautiful and just like the coolest person ever, but doesn't have this commercial look. And, our clients want to sell something. So when there's a gap, we try to push as much as we can for the story, the person, but it's a challenge. And I think it's something that we'll do every time, no matter what.
Yeah. Are there any like kind of like beautiful instances of like you fighting for something and like something magical came out of it?
Yeah, I don't know if I can think of a specific example.
Yeah. I think what's fun is when we do push for our friends and we get to see them get casted
Yeah.
and know that they are a real person who uses the product or a real person who, embodies the campaign message. I think that's really satisfying. The hypothesis one, I think, is one that we push for. We did a scrubs campaign for medical scrubs brand, and we did real people casting for that. And I think that's a really good example of even we had to choose our like top 3, and the client doesn't agree for whatever reason. But the more we're able to share why their story is so epic or iconic, or how we can just really elevate it, even if they don't see the vision, I think it's become really satisfying. Like the one this year that we did, we highlighted a flight nurse, and it needed a helicopter for the location to make sense or for the story to make sense. We're like, well, here's a really cool story, and we found a really cool person who does this in real life. You're going to need to spend a little more, but I think, it's going to just elevate everything. And I think us pushing for it, taking the risk, even though we've never booked a helicopter before, or like, done all the ins and outs of that, was special. And I think it really made for a good story to tell.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think sometimes too, like, I don't know what it is, but like we'll just feel it. And I just feel that this is going to be so good. Like they're going to be amazing. Like I just feel really strongly about it. And I think one thing I've learned is like, you don't go to battle over every decision with a client, right? Sometimes you're like, you know what? That's not my idea, but it's still going to be great. You're not going to like go to bat for every single one. So sometimes when you really, really, really feel strongly and you're like, okay, I'm going to go to bat. And maybe your client's like, oh, I've never heard them like speak this passionately and be like, we have to do this, And so I think that does carry a little bit of weight. Like if you don't do it every time, they're like, oh, they really care about this. And I think anytime you have like a vision of, we can see the campaign in our minds and we're like, we see that she's in it or whatever it is, sometimes we're then able to like make that call and it does get listened to and it's worth it. Even our other, so we've done 2 for Hypothesis and the one last year as well. I remember we went to bat for one of our doctors there as well. And I don't know what it was about her. We were just like, we do Zoom interviews, so we'd get to know everyone. And we were just like, she's it. That's it. Nothing else.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. It's that intuition. You got to follow it. Yeah. What's like your favorite part of the process now, if you have one?
The whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know for me personally, I love that initial process of concepting and just really dreaming big and figuring out what you can do. And then when it gets to making it, I'm kind of just like,
I think concepting, is really fun when you're in so early that there's no like budget against it. When you're just like, this is the big thing I want to do that I envision. And then you get realistic and you're like, okay, now let me be strategic and like, how can I get a piece of that big dream into this? Yeah. I also love shoot day when I get my coffee and I look around and I'm like, okay, we're here, let's do it.
Yeah. All that hard work paying off for sure.
It's like hiring is such a big part of it. And it's like we build the team for every shoot and it's always different. Just seeing all those people to come together and we're like, oh yeah, like this is who we wanted for this role for a reason and they're killing it. It's just fun.
I'm sure you've learned a lot of lessons together. Is there one that stands out that kind of like sticks with you today?
We're learning stuff every day. There's too many.
I bet.
I think
no, go ahead.
For me, a big one that's always in back of my mind is like honor the vision. It's like if you're up against time on a shoot day, resources and pre-pro, you're in post. I think what can you do to honor the vision to like, find your way around a barrier? And I think that is a good guidance on like how to stay true to what you wanted, not make poor judgment calls, and kind of just stick to the goal. So what can you do to honor the vision?
Yeah,
I like that.
Cool head, like when things are crazy is hard, but it's super important. And I think one that I'm like always learning is like you have to speak up, which is funny too, because when we're on set, we're like in charge. So we should have no, but it's like one of those things. I don't know. I learned this really early on. I actually remember Naomi then told me that I told this to her. And I was like, I don't remember her saying that because I'd be forgetting it. But like, if you said that you're like not loving in the moment, but let's say like Naomi's saying you're up against a time schedule and you're out of time, like there's a pressure to be like, good, let's move on. But if you didn't like it on set, you're not going to like it in post and you're not going to like them in the finished project. And it's going to follow you for like those next 2 months. And you're just going to be staring at that shot like, why did I approve it? You know, because there's a little thing that could have been better or whatever. And so it all goes together, I think, hand in hand, like being true to the vision, like Naomi was saying, like keeping a cool head, and then also just having confidence in what you feel in that moment. And like, okay, when is it worth it to not move on, even if it means delaying the schedule? Versus like, okay, that is good enough to move on. You know what I mean? It's just like, I think it's a confidence thing. Yeah, I'm always learning it every day.
Totally. So what would be a non-negotiable for you in your workplace and for a project?
Respect.
You kind of said like following your vision, which I think is one of them.
Yeah, I think respect, especially since we build teams, like knowing that if we have a strong foundation, just coming together as people who are creative, especially like knowing that this is collaborative. This isn't just one person in the crew saying this is how it goes. Sometimes, yes, you know, we push the creative direction where it needs to go. But for me, I love when it's like everyone's in flow, everyone's in sync, everyone has the respect to be like, okay, this is the vision. How do we get there? What is my part? Having that attitude is super important to me. And I think this is what we think of when we build our crews. It's like, who, number one, can we all vibe with? Like, what can they bring to the table? And then I think skill almost comes second a little bit.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, that's great. What would like a dream collaboration look like for you right now?
Like a dream.
We've been saying this. We've been saying this to each other. We say 3-day motion shoot.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Like we're ready for what the story is. I don't know, but I think it's more, a story focused motion, big project. I think that's what we're calling in right now for sure.
And I think also like we were just on a walk recently and Naomi was asking me like, of a project that you think is maybe your best or something like that, like why? And that was like a really good question. I was like, oh, okay. Like I hadn't thought about it. And one thing I think we landed on is like the creative freedom, which always is going to lead to your best work because you see the vision from the beginning and then you can see it through. I think sometimes like the bigger commercials and campaigns that we're working on, it's like the sales metrics are higher that you have to meet. And so there's so many more voices in the mix and you have so many more goals in addition to the story you're trying to tell. Like, oh, you're trying to sell this. Sometimes we're launching 3 products at once in one campaign. And it's like so many things that you have to meet on. And not that it dilutes it, but sometimes it's just difficult to hit so many things. And so I feel like when you just have that freedom, like, oh, we're just doing storytelling, like a branded doc, like things like that, when it's just a little bit more free form, I think leads to really good creative work. Are
you outreaching to potential clients and like having conversations with folks to get more work, or is it just coming to you naturally? Or a mixture of the both?
Yeah, it's a little both. Outreach is hard. I just think you have to do it. I don't think we have the secret yet.
Yeah, you just got to go for it, I think.
I think it's also a numbers game. Like, just keep
and
showing
timing.
up. Yeah, numbers and timing.
Yeah, but I would say like one thing I've learned is like almost 90% of our work comes from our network, I would say. It's so rare that you just out of the blue outreach, like to us. Sometimes we do, but it's pretty rare. And I feel like early in my career, like I knew your network was important, but I didn't know it was everything. Like literally, like it's like 90 to 95% of like what you're going to be doing. That's just something I've learned, like, nurturing the relationships that you do have. Obviously, you're always trying to grow your network, but I feel like just strengthening what's there is also like crucial.
Yeah. Have you ever gotten work or just had a conversation with somebody that came from a very unexpected place, maybe outside of your network, that was just unexpected?
Not off the top of my head for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah. I can't think of anyone.
Yeah, cycling, so much of my network like comes through that. And I feel like those the cycling community just in general is really tight. A lot of it comes through that, whether it's friends of friends or whatever.
Yeah. You have a physical space as well. How does that play into your business?
We did have a physical space.
Oh, you did.
That
RIP.
Yeah, RIP, but exciting shift for this year.
Mhm.
When we launched at our production side of the business and our studio side of the business. And then that was for 4 years.
Mm.
And then we just decided to shift away from that, just fully into creative studio and production, just so we could focus more on our energy of what we
Yeah.
are doing and like where our business is going. It just was feeling like a split, you know?
Yeah. Do you have like check-ins on like you make sure you're heading in the right direction? Yeah, to making sure you're following your vision. Like you say it sounds like you take walks together a lot. That's pretty cool.
We do.
Yeah.
I think we're also just always talking to each other, like sending each other inspo. If we have a crazy thought or a want, I'll just text her and be like, I want this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What are we going to do with it? I don't know, but like just putting it out there and being really communicative is important. And then I think on the business side, we've definitely been more, looking at our goals on that side and tracking things and seeing the big picture a little more often. So yeah, I think like with everything, every day is a little bit, it's like the progress keeps going up a little bit.
Yeah. And sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I feel like naturally we are really aligned on where we want to be going. So it doesn't really feel like we're usually like, oh, do we need to like, like realign ourselves or anything?
Mhm.
It feels really organic and natural. And I think if anything, it's like we just do a lot of check-ins like after jobs as well. 'Cause they're so all consuming. Like we just delivered a job, last month that we were working on since December. So you're like, okay, it's been 4 or 5 months. Like let's like
Yeah.
gonna be like, did we actually execute what we wanted to back in December? What got lost? Like, and there's always something that we're like, oh, next time we can stay a little bit more on track this way. So if anything, it's kind of us, I guess, aligning on what we can do better to stay true to our vision, but not that like our vision is shifting or anything.
Yeah. I feel this might not apply to you because it sounds like you both are special, but do you guys get creative block or as a individuals and as a studio? You get a project coming in, you're kind of stumped on how you're going to move forward with it?
I think with a client project, there's not a creative block because there's always a goal that you can work towards. But in my personal creativity, there's blocks every other day.
Yeah.
I don't know why. And I feel like I have to go through my checklist of like, okay, how do I unblock this? So I write, I go for a walk, journal, listen to music. Music is a big one for me. Hang out with my husband, just be outside in some way. And like, it's like kind of the thought of, or the idea of like your best ideas come in the shower. It's like, how can I put less pressure on having to be the most creative, amazing person right now for no reason other than self-creativity or self-expression, which I do a lot, which is funny. I'm like, I just want to make the best image tomorrow. How do I get there? So yeah, I definitely come into creative blocks, but then again, the best photos are almost made naturally and organically. You have to see the moment, you have to be there and be present. So how can you practice that instead of putting pressure on finding that?
Yeah, I feel the same way. With our client work, yeah, I would say it's rare. Because it's, I don't know, it's like a race. It's like once it starts, you're just like, let's go. Like,
Yeah.
so fast. But yeah, the same as Naomi. Like, if I ever try to do personal work, it's like, I'll just leave it on the back burner for like a year.
Yeah.
Also, like, I keep coming back to confidence, but I think that's the same thing in finding your personal creative voice, because when you're working for a client, it's not that it's easy, but it's not wrapped up in like your self-worth. Like you're just like, oh, I can tell this amazing story to hit on that objective. Like it's going to be sick. But when you're doing it for yourself, it's like, oh, like what's so important about my thought or, my feeling that I want to capture? Like, why should I even like put the time and energy into it? And that's what'll happen to me a lot. Like I'll just be self-questioning it. Like if I'm writing a script, I'm like, oh, like this isn't the next great American novel. So trash,
Yeah.
But I think to do it, yeah, you have to like quiet that voice and be like, oh, like what I have to say is valid.
Yeah.
And
Do
even
you?
being, just to go a little further, and even being comfortable with failing, like
Yeah,
the fail fast mindset. It's like, I know this is not my best creative moment, but I want to get it out of my head. I need to do it. I need to just click the shutter, click the button,
Yeah.
and move on with it and let it be what it was. I think that also
totally.
is a good part of running through creative block.
How about as a studio? Do you do any like personal work for the studio to kind of like potentially get new clients?
Yeah, I would say that's like a key part of our work, especially because, in our first couple years, like when we'd have like lulls between projects, we were
Yeah.
always like, okay, let's go film something or let's go shoot something. And some of it does feel like some of our best work still.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like still on our portfolio, we're like still proud of it. And yeah, I think it's always important, especially like we were saying, like, the campaign objectives, like we don't choose those. Like even though we do the creative direction, like we're not always part of those objectives as to what we're trying to, the reason behind what we're trying to make. So when we do it just for ourselves, it's like just super freeing. And we just try to like profile people that are interesting to us.
Mm-hmm.
How are we going to capture it visually? Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. It sounds like you guys are really good together. Do you feel like you're going to eventually expand, or you're happy just working together and then hiring people as needed?
I think we're a great duo, and every now and then we'll collaborate with somebody like a designer or someone in production, and we'll have a thought like, oh, this is our third Amiga.
Yeah, I like that.
But I think it comes in waves, and right now I love staying a duo, and I think we've started from the beginning, we've had the same vision for the beginning, and bringing people on our vision in bursts has been working. So why fix what's not broken? I feel like
Yeah.
we've got a good momentum too.
Yeah. I also think, certainly we have a lot of room to grow. And I think
Hmm.
through that, I can see us remaining, ECDs on everything, but maybe we are bringing on additional people to execute the vision, touching things a little bit less than we are now. But yeah, I think we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah. You said you think you may have room to grow. What does that mean? What are you thinking about?
Well, I guess I mean, like, for example, like that job I just mentioned that we were on for like 5 months, like that's so all consuming that we did do other shoots in the same period, of course, but that takes up a lot of our energy. So, for example, if we had 4 of those in one quarter, we would need to bring on help to, allow us to like be part of all of those at the same time. So I guess that's what I mean. Just more.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think even when we have a busy season, like having a project manager, having
Yeah.
someone carry logistics, whether that's in production or in post. I think our ideal is to stay creative as much as we can. Yeah, whatever we can do to get there. I think we're slowly inching our way um, to getting to run with creative a little more.
Yeah. I'm a little hesitant to bring this up, but I feel like I should.
Yeah.
Have you started to incorporate AI into your admin work and things like that to help you work on decks or just kind of organize thoughts and things like that?
I definitely don't use it creatively. I more ask it questions to learn,
Hmm.
which is I just use it as a Google type resource. I see it around me though a lot
Yeah.
where there's AI campaigns. One thing that I did do, which I was like, okay, I like this. I had ChatGPT do the scheduling for a shoot once. So I was like, I
Hmm.
don't have time for this. There's like 20 shots. Here's the time frame. This is the lunch. Please spec it out for me. And that worked okay. It worked pretty good. But I feel like that is the most that I've used it really. I don't
Yeah.
know how I feel about it really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've used it a bit. I think AI note taking in meetings is really nice.
Really
Mhm.
nice.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
anytime you're like taking like little admin tasks off your plate, it's gonna be
Yeah.
Mhm.
interesting. And then even sometimes, honestly, it's been pretty useful with writing. And I say this with a big grain of salt. I don't think it's ever like better or like more creative than a person writing. But a lot of times, like if you're just giving it like little exercises, sometimes what it spits back to you is quite bad. But it will immediately your head goes, yeah, but the better version is this.
Yeah.
So it can like spark ideas in yourself as a writer. Not that you like let it write things for you, but it's almost just like little exercises that are like, because I think that's been a writing tool for a long time, is like write the bad version. If you can't get something on paper, like write the bad version, because it's really easy to look at that and be like, oh, it would be better if I did it this way. So little things like that when you're really like have writer's block, if you do.
Yeah.
And then I think Midjourney for storyboards, I feel like it's going to become like the industry standard, which is sad because storyboard artists are like such an amazing piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
But I just think there's so many instances now where like the budget is so low. Like personally, I've never had a job where we could afford a storyboard artist. So I don't know what that's like. But I think, you're pulling references and then sometimes the reference just doesn't exist. And you're like, I can sketch it with a stick figure or I can do it on Midjourney.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it could be a pretty powerful creative partner, and I've definitely been more open to it. I found it really useful for brainstorming. If I have an idea, I'll just kind of chat with it as if it was a person and just kind of jam out. And then I'll just take all that information and kind of like put it into a Google Doc that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we're in similar industries, so I'm definitely keeping up with it. And I've actually kind of made an effort to like put a little bit more energy into it, just so I'm up to speed.
Yeah, I think that's crucial because sometimes I'm like, I don't care. I don't want to like learn about it, but you also don't want to be in conversations with people that are super up to date on everything and you're not.
Yeah. Yeah, but I feel for your studio, if it could remove a lot of those admin tasks that you don't want to be doing, I think that'd be really powerful.
Yeah.
For sure. And you could just focus on the creativity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I almost feel like I forget if I asked this question, but I'm just curious on like working together, just a lesson learned that you'd want to share with other people that you think would be valuable. I think it's pretty powerful to see that you get along so well. I don't think I've ever met a duo that is like that. It seems really amazing, and
Perfect.
yeah, that would definitely be one lesson. It's like find the right person and someone that you could go on walks with and just jam out on ideas. But is there anything else?
I think the reason we work so well together is, I mean, there's probably a million reasons, but we always say this, like we are really good friends. Like I think for sure Naomi is one of my best friends, but we didn't start that way. And I feel like that has made our relationship for the business really strong because we started out working together for like a few years. So we know how each other works. We respect how each other works. And like Naomi was saying, we just know there's that like hard work thing that you're never going to have to question, like, is someone going to be doing what they need to do? Like it's literally like never been a question on our minds. And so just having that working relationship be the basis, I think means we're never going to run into those things of like friends who go into business together and then, I don't know, they're like taking things personally or like things fall apart or something like that because we're just always like at it from a work perspective. And then obviously we're at it from a friend perspective in other moments. But I feel like our Amiga conversations like start from there.
Yeah. That's
And
really
I
cool.
think a really amazing, one thing that I love about us is that even if we do have a difficult conversation, we have it, it's clear, it's open. And then there's so many things to do in our business that we're like, all right, so anyway, can I talk about this now? Like
Yeah.
let's move on. I think we have so much respect for each other and empathy, but we also both want to do big things. So it's like, all right, let's keep going.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for anyone that wants to start their own studio or some kind of creative practice?
I would do it,
Yeah.
because there's so many things that you, like we were saying before, you're like nervous to start or it seems too big. And then, time passes and you're like, oh, if you had started that a year ago, you'd be a year into this journey already, and not even related to our business, but like, we had a slow period a couple of years ago and I like picked up a camera for the first time and started shooting, obviously with the help of Naomi, and editing. Like, I think 2 years ago, I had never even been in an editing program. And now I'm like editing almost all of our, or some of our campaigns that we do. And so I don't know, it's like, yeah, I started wherever I was. And then now 2 years later, I'm like, oh, like, I feel like I have, I'm obviously not that good at shooting, but it's a skill that I can lean on it and it does help us in our business. So I feel like whatever that is for you, like, yeah, just start where you are.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think mine would be learn how to pivot always. And like, don't be afraid of the pivot. If your shoot isn't going the way you wanted, if your big plan isn't going the way you wanted, pivot. Go with the times, go with the flow. I think there's always a unexpected way to pick up the pick up the pace the way you anticipated it going. And I feel like pivoting is really what we are. We're professional pivoters in a creative space, and that's really how you build momentum. You can't let it, like, the big barriers keep you from doing the thing.
Yeah. This last question is kind of similar but different. But I'm really interested if there's like a belief that really kind of like anchors your life and work that you think people should hear.
For me, I think when we came to the name Amiga Studio, it really is, I feel like that's how I live my life. Like, I just want to be an Amiga to Ginger, to our crew, to my husband, to my family, to like anyone I encounter. Like, that's the energy I want to put forth. And I think if we all had a little bit of that mindset in us, like, we could do so much more. It's like, how can we make things not about ourselves all the time? How can we just coexist and collaborate? Mine is definitely very like, let's be friends and like make fun things. But really, that's all I want to do.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Mine is, I don't know. I just believe that there can be real connections and relationships made between people and brands. And I think that's why like we're so obsessed with representation and diversity and things like that, and just like capturing real stories, because capturing a real moment that, you know, other people can relate to, but maybe is not something that people shine a light on all that often, like it can do so much. And I feel like that's all I want to do in my work is like, I just want to capture like one like minuscule real moment that then someone can watch and be like, oh, like they get me. I feel seen. I feel part of this. And I think it's so powerful. And that's like when we do our best work, that's the kind of work that I want to do. Especially now, like I just feel like so many things are fake.
Yeah.
Like it's like you just see something on Instagram and you're like, oh, like is it even real? Like I don't know what I'm even looking at. And yeah, I don't know. I just feel like capturing something real and relatable is really important.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. This was really awesome. I really enjoyed the conversation. And yeah, thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
All right, that's our show for today. If you like this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, or share it with a friend. It all really helps out. If you have any questions about creativity, process, or anything we talked about, drop a comment. I'd love to hear from you. You can follow along at Broken and Coastal on Instagram and YouTube. Subscribe to my newsletter. It's free. It's a weekly dose of inspiration at the intersection of design and the outdoors. I think you'll love it. Thanks for being here.